And I'm back for another video on my blue-green deck. I realized that my current two videos, well, one has a Teferi Ultimate on turn 4, at least played in that manner, and then the other arguably has a combo on turn, I believe, 5 with Sakashima and Kodama. So just want to get more, more general test update. I don't have such, fortunate openings. So again, video covering how to play blue-green version of my deck led by Thrasios and Kodama. So we'll get right into it. Our opening hand. So this one, it's got good cards, but I can't stress this enough. This is a ramp deck trying to force issues and be aggressive. So the issue with this one is that we don't have any ramp, and nor, if we draw if we draw another land, we have Ristic Study, and it'll probably lead to good results. But we have to draw, see, two more blue sources to play this Archmage's Charm, and then I guess we're looking at, we do have opening hand Seabar music. That's pretty potent. So if we get to, if on curve, if we don't draw any ramp, we'll have Seabar Muse, Thrasios turn 5, assuming no disruption, and assuming we draw the lands. But that's a bit hopeful, and it's also like whether or not I keep this hand would depend on the table. For example, it gets an aggressive, matchup against, like, say, maybe like Krenko or anyone low to the ground, maybe like Winota. I would heavily consider a mulligan. And in general, in this hand, I really want that turn 2 to turn 3 ramp, like, guaranteed. So I actually ship this back in spite of having Seabar Muse on, ideally on curve, but maybe not. So we'll pitch it back and hope for the best. Okay, and our efforts were rewarded. So now we have basically turn 2 ramp twice with Ancient Tomb into Farseek, and then right after that, drop down a Mystic Armor. We have card draw and Zagana right here, and it's commander, so we get a free mulligan. Ulamog's not ideal, but we'll keep it because we probably could do better, but considering, like, this hand is fully functional and playable, rather not go down to 6. And we even have an answer for a turn 1 Soul Ring if we really need to. So we're going to keep this and get right into it. So we'll draw. Inspired Sphinx is not ideal. Definitely need more mana with this hand, but we'll go right along. On the play, I would probably get Tropical here, just because I wouldn't want anyone to play a Soul Ring. And actually no, we're definitely going to get Tropical because Farseek allows us to get Rhymewood Fall. So we'll get Tropical, and that lets us answer a turn with Soul Ring or any other problematic artifact or enchantment. So we'll do that. Shuffle, take our damage. We'll go to turn 2. Hope we get land. All right, Gilded Drake, not ideal, but happens. All right, we'll go straight into the Ancient Tomb. Tap 3, take 2. We'll go for the Farseek. Admittedly, if this gets countered, we're in kind of big trouble. We don't even have blue-green out to cast Thrasios, but take some exceptional guts to counter our ramp spell on turn 2. Be very aggressive. I wouldn't play around that in the slightest. And even then, we wouldn't be completely out. We could drop the Mystic Armor and just try to go from there. Keep it around for a couple of turns. So we'll drop this round with Fall, Shuffle, and go to the next turn. All right, Teferi Master of Time. So obviously we didn't draw land, which would have been ideal. So we'll have to focus on the next best thing here, which is to keep being aggressive and jam our threats. So we'll go for Teferi here as opposed to Fish, because Fish alone, especially if people have board state, it's gonna further constrain our mana for next turn. And if people play properly around it, we're basically in the same situation, except we have even less mana. So I'd rather take an active role with Teferi here and try to turn, like, these at the moment useless cards like Ulamog and Inspired Sphinx into land. So we'll definitely jam him. If he gets countered, so be it, but we're still not out of the game by any means. Countered and or answered. So we'll draw and discard. Okay, that's not ideal either. Let's see. Oro lets us dig farther if we hardcast him. So we will pitch Ulamog first. So we'll do something different. Let's assume Teferi would get answered in like 2 swings. Let's say 2 people have 2 3/3s. So we'll go to the person on our left's turn. Let's say they swing 3 at Teferi. We'll let damage happen. So he'll go to 1, and then after that we'll tick up. Draw a card. Discard a card. Ooh, we are not seeing the lands that we want in a actual game right now. So I would be thinking Psych Rift. Like, we're definitely gonna, like, with the start, we're gonna have to come from behind, and the way to do that is, since we don't have, like, clear means of catching up, we're going to probably need our interaction. So I would actually pitch the 7 drop here that we're nowhere close to casting. And then we'll play for the person in front of us. Let's assume they have a 3/3. They swing it to fair. We'll tick up. Still trying to see land. All right, what if that was perfect? So let's see. Earl will see more land. We have, it's a bit of a tough discard. So I actually think unless someone played a, let's see, well, heck, in this playtest, I'm assuming my Teferi gets attacked, so I wouldn't be too worried about Planeswalkers. Cycleriff, we're going to need Cycleriff to, I guess, come back from massive boards. If someone's already presenting a super wide board state, there's more incentive to hold Cycleriff. But right now, we're not really. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We might get to the overload, so it's a tough discard. It's a tough call. So we have 3 interaction spells, so that's pretty redundant. So it would be one of these. So I would, obviously, at this point, I can look at the game state so far. If Nature's Claim hasn't been used yet, I'd be inclined to discard it, because at this point in the game, I would be more concerned about the creatures or non-artifact enchantment permanents. Of course, it depends on the matchup. But in this case, we do have a sick combo of Gilded Drake, steal something, bounce it back with Cyclonic Rift, and replay it again. That'll put 2 people in a very awkward situation. So, assuming Nature's Claim wasn't used yet, I would actually probably pitch it here. And let me not drone too long on hypotheticals. And let's assume Teferi dies. Okay, and then we'll go to next turn. And there's argument for Uru to pitch Uru, since we can escape it relatively easily. But we're still trying to dig for land, so I actually want to keep Uru, go for the hard cast just to possibly get another land drop. So we'll play this land. We'll go ahead and play Uru before cracking the fetch. I know the deck hitting effect is marginal, but non-zero still non-zero, so we'll play him first. We have a generic floating, so we'll cast Uru. Gain 3, draw a card. Oh my lord, no land to put in play. The deck is not being nice to us today. So with that, our best option here is, let's see, super unfortunate, because we don't even have the colors necessary to escape Uro if we wanted to do that. So best bet here would be, I guess, Burning Pool into the fish. And we'll go super hardcore and assume that everyone is playing around the fish. So we'll tap one and hopefully resolve it. But for the sake of this test, let's assume everyone plays around it. So we'll go to our next turn, assuming the fish hasn't drawn any cards. And with that, so if we draw land, and Ancient Tomb is actually the only colorless land in the deck, so we're going to tap it, so that if we do draw a land, we can go ahead and escape the row. So we'll do that. So we'll tap the Ancient Tomb. And mostly because it doesn't take us off a play that we had in hand. But of course, with this draw, now we feel silly for that play, because we're maximum punish. Cavalier would have been playable. Likely would see land and be able to throw this Cosmic away. But decisions you have to make. Depending on the stage of the game, there's actually consideration to hold a Mana Drain here. We're on turn 5, and hopefully, if everyone's deck was functioning like ours at this point, we would go for probably pass with Mana Drain up and just try to slingshot off of that back into a more stable position. It is hopeful, or maybe Mana Drain into Overload Cyclonic Rift to possibly catch back up. So again hopeful, but that would be our best bet right now. So actually, we would just pass holding Mana Drain up. Again, we'll assume that the fish doesn't draw anything. I don't like doing playtests like too heavily relying on, I guess, what other people would or wouldn't do. But it's likely we would have to counter something here if we're in a real game. But let's not make it crazy. Let's say it was like something that costs 2. Let's say a 2 cost Astronaut's Altar or something like that. I don't remember how much that card costs, but that costs 2. All right, so let's say we have 2 mana incoming from the Mana Drain. And with that, so with 2, so 2 is pretty convenient, because that would give us an easy option on whether or not to keep the fish. In this case, we'll go on 2, and then we'll keep the fish, because let's see, even if we lost it, we're still not doing that much. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll keep the fish. We'll play with the tomb again. Brutal. Okay, so clearly deck's not really giving land today, but that's Magic as a whole, can happen to any deck. So right here, best play, in my opinion, would be we need to get mana on field and not take any more risk, because clearly we're not seeing it. So we'll go for our Nature's Lore. Use one of the generic from the Mana Drain. Create a forest. Shuffle. Put this here. Use green, blue. Go ahead and get Thrasios on the field. And then with that generic floating, I would probably, at this point, go for a Gilded Drake. Target whoever's the farthest ahead, take their creature. And of course, the mana would dissipate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we have a semblance of actually being able to do something. So next turn, if we stole a creature with like relevant power, and then for the sake of playtest again, so with the Mana Drain, we went with a 2 power, 2 CMC spell. For this test, we'll go with a 2 power creature. Let's say we stole one that's 2 power. I would probably let the fish go and try to Zagana into something playable. Or even if Zagana's not an amazing play, we have the Cavalier to maybe find something better. So here we will let the fish go. Let it go. And again, no land. We have not drawn. Let's see. What do we start with? We started with Tropical, Ancient Tomb, and every other mana source has been searched, I believe. Let's see. Oh, Teferi drew one land, but yeah, it's magic. It happens sometimes. The fortunate part of this situation is that if this does happen, people are less likely to focus you because they clearly see that you're behind. So there's in this deck, trust me, this deck can come back from a deficit. So we'll play that out. Maybe go to like turn 10 or so, or whenever we see something, whatever comes first. So we'll take 2 here, tap this 5. We'll go for the Cavalier. So at this point, I guess on the previous turn I said we definitely need mana and we want to make sure it gets out. But if we still want to win the game, we're always going to fight to the end until we're dead. We need to go for the high upside plays here, and that would be this Cavalier, see a land, possibly. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably shuffle this Cosmic away because it's still pretty hopeful that we get him out. So go for this Cavalier. We'll brainstorm. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and only 1 land off of that. So let's see. At this point, we still have Uro in the grave, and like at this point in the game, it's extremely likely that our other opponents will have played all of their spells, whereas we've been struggling on mana. So we really don't want to time spiral here because we actually have a plan now, and we don't want to refill everyone else's hand. So we're going to put back time spiral, and we're going to put back Kozilek because clearly we're struggling on mana, and we don't want to. Not going to get to our 10 drop anytime soon. But fortunately, here's the power of Brainstorm Shuffle. Blue works really well, or green's land ramp because it easily enables that strategy. So cast a Rampant Growth, go get an island. Play is tapped. So clearly I'm not factoring in like enemy attacks for this playtest. A super low to the ground aggressive deck probably would have had us dead so far. But if someone was a clear threat at this point in the game, in my opinion, we've had enough interaction. Like we had turn 1 Nature's Claim. We already played a Gilded Drake. We had a Cyclonic Rift. We could probably at least like stall someone long enough to hopefully have our other pod mates keep us in the game. So all right, so we shuffle after the search, and then we'll go to the next turn. So assuming we're already behind, and I guess this is also a good time, I guess, to show kind of the weakness of Kodama. So like right now, so we're on turn 8, and that's pretty generous for us still being alive here. Unless actually no, we've had a lot of disruption, so maybe it's okay. I guess the one issue with Kodama is that when you cast him, it's basically taking a turn off to prepare for next turn, unless you have a ton of lands to like chain out of your hand, which we do not. So it's going to be awkward to cast him at this point, but we'll try to find a good opportunity. So on this turn, we have Coma or Zagana, which if the board state didn't change, no one's probably going to kill this unless Zagana gets put onto the stack. If we were worried about that and we needed to control the board, we would go with Coma. Like if establishing board presence was more important than drawing cards right now, I would go with the Coma. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, Nature's on the Coma, or sorry, 3 visits in the Coma. It's a viable play. Alternatively, we can hold up the Cyclonic Rift, although at this stage of the game, with like especially if we can cast Kodama and choose not to, it's clear as day that we're holding up something big. So, and most people assume when you pass with 7+ mana up in blue, you're holding a Cyclonic Rift, although having Thrasios on the field can mask that. So here, if I wasn't under like significant pressure, like beats pressure or needed to interact, I would go with the Zagana because usually. So beats like this card can definitely close the game, but if I didn't think we were in that position, like if resources were low and I knew people couldn't answer this card, I would jam it. But since we're not there, or since in the purpose of this playtest, I'll assume we're not there. I'd rather put down the Zagana and keep basically, as Blue often does, keep thinking ahead because we need to keep hitting our land drops, keep drawing more cards, and applying on the threats after that. So we'll play to that. Lines, we'll take 2. We cast the Zagana. Hopefully, no one will kill our Cavalier. So she would get 5 counters. Oops. And would effectively make her 6 power. So we'll draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so seeing a lot of goodies. Still really light on land. And let's see. So we brainstormed. Let's see. What did we do last turn? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We saw land. I think we played a land this turn. I'm sorry. I've been speaking so much, forgetting where we are on plays. But I believe, yeah, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I think I Cavalier saw land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We played another land, and then we searched for this island off the rampant growth. Yeah, I believe that's correct. So we can play this. We can play this forest here. Then after that, if we were super scared of someone winning, we could try to hold a baby rift, and don't sleep on that play. Sometimes that can make the difference. So if we want to interact with a permanent, we could play Oko. But as I said, if we really needed to interact, we've gone with Coma, but we're going with this line, so we're assuming that we can still afford value. Turn 8, realistically, at this point, I wouldn't cast this 3 visits because I would expect people, unless they were top decking with no boards, I would expect them to be able to win. But I'm sorry, being silly. 3 visits gets a forest untapped, so we could do that. Let's see. Have our special? No, yeah, we have all our special land, forest island, so we get a basic forest. So, excuse me, we can do both. So hold up baby rift in case someone would try to win, and then attack or either hold tight depending on the matchup. So we'll go to next turn. I'm on turn 9. Okay, so still, if anything, this is a good playtest to show, I guess, when it will be a good time to Kodama. So usually I will play him when it ensures that your next turn, like if he doesn't get disrupted, your next turn is going to be super explosive. And of course, it depends on the needs of the board. So in this playtest, like obviously things are probably pretty chaotic at this point. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even if we Kodama, we can't really make a significant drop after that this turn, so I wouldn't recommend trying him this turn. Let's see, I would try to go for high upside here, so that would be the Regal Behemoth Birth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll take 2. Go for the Regal Behemoth. Hopefully it wouldn't get disrupted and we become the Monarch. There's also consideration to just passing with a board and Hullbreaker and Cyclonic Rift up. That would depend. If you're in a position where you need to play defense, then do so. Defense being like, I guess someone else has a board where clear threats or like combo pieces or a board presence where you think something like Crater Hoof coming down could take you out. Otherwise, I would suggest to keep playing aggressively and force people to answer you. Again, blue-green generally, you really don't have that many good ways to come back from a deficit outside of Overloaded Rift. So, or at least a wide deficit from multiple opponents. So again, I recommend just continuing to force the issue. So if Regal Behemoth resolves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At this point, this would be a good time to. This is where I would consider. I know I just said keep jamming the threats, but since we do have options at instant speed here, and we let's see, if we cast Unesh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 5 cards in hand. There's a good chance we'll discard the hand size. We don't need to do that here because we can. My plan would be for next turn, assuming we untap with these resources and the Crown, Kodama with the Unesh and Sphinx. That could really go into a crazy turn that could swing the game back if we're still going on, still fighting this long. So I would actually pass here, draw a card for being the Monarch. And then if nothing forced our hand with Overloaded Rift, I would go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go with the Hullbreaker Horror. If we're fortunate, people are scared of this card for good reason. It might even eat spell removal, it might eat spell removal over Kodama. Although I would expect people to kill this first. Okay, so we'll go to the next turn and see what happens. Okay, so deck has not been giving us land this entire test. It's unfortunate. So first thing I would do here is 6. I would go for Kodama. Again, playing around high upside here. If we don't get disrupted at all on this turn, like we're probably going to go into a win, which I would hope so, on tapping with double mana with all these cards in a Simic deck. But we'll see what happens. So we could 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We could go for Kozilek and draw 4. And still go for the Unesh or any of these permanents after. But we'll stick with the lower CMC because we're just trying to see more options here at this point. So our next move would be to cash Unesh for 6. Okay. And as usual, we'll put Kodama triggers under any triggers that see more cards. So we'll do a Factor Fiction of 4 first. Okay. So good cards, Finale. Okay, so with proper resources and mana, Finale of Devastation, or any creature tutor for that matter, it's a 1-card combo to win the game because it can get Spellseeker and be a Spellseeker, assuming all resources are still in the deck. Spellseeker can assemble all of the pieces for infinite combo. But we already have Hullbreaker Horror on the field here, but I don't think we have any We don't have any turns in the yard, and we only have. No, forgot about Uro a while ago, but we can consider that play. So here, let's see. This is a tougher one. So I think I would take the. So assuming Thrasios was still alive, Finale presents the. Let's see, 1-2. We can Finale into Seaborn, and as usual, the Seaborn Thrasios discussing combination that will probably end the game pretty quickly. Or alternatively, if we take the Finale, we can go into Sakashima, copy Kodama, and at the least get the Sphinx of Athun out of our hand, which that is taking a risk, but I would be shocked if we didn't go into more permanents that can lead into more cards and whatnot. So from the opponent's standpoint, the split, definitely Finale and Eternal Witness as separate piles. And let's see, Finale is probably the scariest card here, so maybe not 3-1 worthy. Probably 3-1 worthy, or opponents who don't aren't as familiar with the deck as us, they will probably go with a 3-1. So we would do this. And again, so since Eternal Witness doesn't really get anything super valuable back, we'll go for the Finale and go for the highest upside we can. Although we do have a Kodama under this, so even if we knew, yeah. So with that in mind, we could. Well, no, we want to see more cards, so we're definitely going to put down the Sphinx. So, all right, we would take the Finale here, bin these guys. Then we will resolve the Kodama for silly me. We can't. I should have done the. What was it? Should have done the Sphinx of Athun, of course. Freaking Unesh costs more than that guy. Or the Sphinx of Athun costs more than Unesh, so we can't do that. So, and this can happen in a game when you're considering all your options. You might forget something or miss something like that. So let's see if we can do something about that. Let's see. So if we have anything at instant speed, nah, I think we'll keep it simple and go for the Oko. So we'll do that. Okay, huge misplay right there on my part. Should have cast the Sphinx of Athun first. Really simple. But sometimes you get caught in your own thoughts and make simple misplays. Okay, so use Oko, use it for value, elk something. And then after that, we would go for, as I said, unfortunately with no protection whatsoever, but if it worked, we would definitely wrap up the game. So let's go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll take 2. Here we could float probably double blue. Yeah, double. Yeah, so floating double blue, just I guess still have Cypher for resculpt alt. We would go for Finale X's 5. I will grab our Seaborn still on the deck. Shuffle, throw that in. Kodama for 5 or less, but we don't have anything. So after that, we have cast. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. 3 spells, so we would have bounced 3 things with Hullbreaker Horror. So we're definitely interacting with the board as we do this, so that's fine. I'm just noticing something else that could have been considered. We had 2 mana. Or we had the option to play Cyclonic Rift when this Unesh trigger was on the stack. When I realized my error for the Sphinx of Athun, we could have cast a Cyclonic Rift and bounced Zagana, put her back in our hand, then put her out and drawn 7 cards. I'm sorry, 8 with 8 cards with the Hullbreaker Horror out. So that's why I got to keep in mind, you got to pay attention to your entire board when you're playing this deck, because with blue bounce effects, like generally you want to use it on enemy things, but it could definitely be used to your own advantage, bouncing your own permanents. So we'll stick with the line that we got. So Seaborn and Thrasios still got 2 mana. Wouldn't do anything with it here. So hopefully, we shuffle after the church, draw a card for being the Monarch, and of course attack, but I wanted to show an attack here. And we'll untap here. So then we will go into the typical Seaborn Thrasios shenanigans. Of course, we would assume that if anyone would try to kill Seaborn as soon as they can, so we would go ahead and activate. So the smart thing to do is to pass turn and then start letting the Thrasios player start activating, because if you launch a kill spell, they're going to start digging anyway. If you let them start digging, they may start tapping too low, and then it's harder for them to respond to something. So we'd activate, and again, lands tap for double, effectively with the Regal Behemoth. So counterspell is great. That will insulate us from basically anything. Activate again. Take an Archmage's Charm and strong all the interaction. Activate again. Don't need Steve right now. I'll put a Mystical Tutor in hand. and that should wrap the game up when we get back to our next turn. So let's see. Mystical Tomb. So we have Eternal Witness in the yard. We have Green Finale in the yard. So usually Mystical Tutor alone can wrap up the game, and but some of our pieces are in the graveyard, but that should be fine. We can still get Worldly Tutor, and then Worldly Tutor. That's not necessary. The optimal play here would be to get the Blue Finale to shuffle everything back in, or with our board state, if we don't need to go for a combo, and sometimes you can, like, if you're not playing against anyone in the Azorius color identity, like Uncounterable Supreme Verdict, generally you can just take everyone out with damage. But if you want to play around something like that, or an uncounterable threat, or multiple uncounterable threats in mana with the presence of Hullbreaker Horror, it's generally smarter to go for a combo. So we'll keep that. And then no need to tap any further down because, like, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, Counterspell and Archranger's Charm at this point. So that would have been the person's to our left's turn. So we'll just keep going forward because we should be able to end up the game. I'm not going to keep doing Thrasios activation to you. We all know where it would end up. So we'll go to our turn, and at our upkeep, we would definitely Mystical Tutor and go for Blue Finale. So we'll do that regardless of what we draw. Okay, so we'll put that back. We'll tap an island. Doesn't really matter. All right, Mystical Tutor, and not make the same mistake twice. Look at our board to see if there's any benefit in bouncing any of our own dudes. Not at the moment. We have a pretty established plan. So we'll go ahead and get Blue Finale. I do love that this deck plays both finales of its color identity. They're both really fun spells. Okay, so we would draw that. Tap for a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll go for 9, 10, 11. Notably, we've taken a lot of damage from Ancient Tomb this game because we've had it basically from the start. So our life total definitely would have probably started mattering in this game, and clearly at this point we would, like, we're a threat at this point for not, if we're still alive. So probably, I don't know if we'd be at the point where we couldn't tap Ancient Tomb for mana, but that's also something to consider, and it would be unfortunate. But if that was the case here, that would just mean we have one less counterspell to use when we go for the finale. So as just counted out, this would be finale for 11. Let's assume we have to protect it. So we'll go for counterspell. And of course, remembering as we cast spells, if Hullbreaker Horror was not answered to this point, we're bouncing permanents like this entire time. And Archmage's Charm. Okay, but let's say it succeeds after that. So we'll shuffle everything in using the shortcut on tapped out of Shift Y to put something on the bottom of the graveyard. Shuffle it. Again, forgot about Uro, but it's okay. We shouldn't need them at this point. We didn't even have any lands to put back into play. Although the life consideration, that would have been important. So we'll shuffle. And I said 11, so we'll go to, let's see, 17 cards. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Generally, it would be smarter to untap all the non-basics, although only left one out. But again, with Regal Behemoth, it fixes your mana, so really don't have to worry about that. Okay, and with the drawing of a turn and this Green Finale in hand to go get Eternal Witness, and assuming Hullbreaker Horror is alive, that will wrap this game up. So the line after this would be land, get Kodama for 0, go this fetch land, fetch, forest. Probably should have counted the forest on field before doing that just to make sure we could find something, or else we're basically more or less wasting a Kodama trigger. Okay, so Kodama for 0 again here. If we're, let's see, are we concerned about mana at all? Not really. And if this primary plan succeeds, we're fine. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll photo blue. Play capture. Someone still tried to fight here. Of course, Mystical Tutor for any counter spell we want. Put it on top. Activate Thrasios and draw it. So we have that. Okay, so assuming capture resolves, we're not too worried about anything, but we still don't want to jam this finale with not much mana available. So we have 1 floating, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and cast a Shia. That'll cover all mana needs for the rest of the game. By all means, Kodama for 5 or less. Go ahead and put out an island. Attack here if necessary. Shouldn't be a big deal. And then main point here is, okay, going to extra turn, but now that we have all of these guys, let me put these up so they can tap. All of these can tap a mana. We have no shortage, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to Sakashima, or not Sakashima, sorry. We're going to Green Finale for Eternal Witness here. In between Eternal Witness, just grab it. If I can find it, sorry. Screen recorder lags a little bit. So is that those 4? So we have 1 floating. Kodama for 3 or 3 or less. We'll go ahead and put out an island and return the turn spell to our hand. And again, this would establish a loop with we have a turn spell in hand. We could cast the turn spell, bounce whatever we want. I'm sorry, bounce the Eternal Witness. Cast the Eternal Witness, return the turn spell to hand, and then bounce any enemy permanent. Repeat that until enemies have no board, and of course, crash in or creature damage to end the game. And if you check out, I believe, my playtest from the 17th of this year, that should cover how to take someone out, even if they're phased out, or if you can't get through with normal damage when you assemble an infinite turn loop. So okay, there you have it. That was a test, I guess, that showcased a little of the, I guess, when a deck doesn't operate as intended. Of course, we got stuck on 3 lands for most of the game. So clearly that could happen to any deck in Magic, but my recommendation would be, even if that does happen, don't give up and play to your outs and play to your best draws, and until you're actually dead with this deck, you can definitely come back, as you can see. So even if like an enemy deck made all their land drops like from the start of the game until this turn 11. So it's 1, 2, 11. So we caught up on land drops, and then we definitely, like, our creatures. Let's see, Cavalier is probably like worst of them, and even then it's still a solid creature in my book. So like the deck can definitely, it can come back from a deficit. So again, I highly advise you to not give up until the end. So that'll wrap up this playtest. I'll probably do more in the future. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you.